We come now to the miracle child of the Dead Rising franchise, a sequel made almost entirely by a different studio that somehow still manages to retain and improve upon the original recipe. Dead Rising 2 brings a bigger map, more survivors and psychopaths, and more silly items to mess around with, but there's one small problem. I haven't played it in 10 years. Dead Rising 1's entire 72-hour schedule is ingrained into my genomic codex, a fact I hope is on my autopsy report. But for Dead Rising 2, I have all the challenges, but none of the confidence. I need to refamiliarize myself with the ins and outs of Fortune City if I'm going to stand a chance out there, so we're going to train in the only way that I know how. Let's 100% Dead Rising 2. In a theoretical world, 100% could be obtained in one playthrough, but that would require an amount of planning that even the architects of the Blueprints mansion couldn't fathom. So to make it slightly easier on myself, we'll be completing everything across a few playthroughs. The first one's going to cover the story, rescuing survivors, and knocking out any miscellaneous achievements along the way. I'll also note up top that there's a graphical effect called luminance variation that adjusts the brightness of lights in-game automatically. There is no legal way I found to disable it, so if you notice the screen's brightness shifting throughout the video, it's the game, not you. With that out of the way, let's begin our quest to 100%. The game opens on our new protagonist, Chuck Greene, a man who apparently only likes first names.
You're on in 2 minutes, Mr. Greene.
My name's Chuck.
Don't forget to include your next of kin.
Her name is Katie.
Get introduced to our coworker.
I heard you lost your wife in Vegas. I guess you suck at killing zombies, otherwise she'd still be around!
A guy you'd expect to at least be good at what he does with this level of confidence, except I quintuple his score, so get fucked, idiot. This lady says,
"The ladies were a little disappointed in your performance tonight, Chuck."
Which makes no sense until I realize she's probably in tremendous pain from trying to walk like this. The elevator arrives just in time to see this hero tank a zombie for us, reaching the green rooms to find our daughter ready to beat ass.
Go away!
Katie continues to assert her dominance by pointing out the ginormous sign for the emergency shelter that Chuck was unable to read. She's contracted terminal cooties, forcing us to re-enter the mall to acquire the drug that Frank and Isabella cooked up in Dead Rising 1, now called Zombrex. With both feet firmly planted in Royal Flush Plaza, we officially leave behind the intro and start the game proper, which also means I can pick up the pace. Our first mission is to acquire Zombrex from a local pharmacy, a task that must be accomplished within 10 real-life minutes or else Katie beefs it mega style, and we lose the game. So we do the smart thing, and ignore the huge arrow at the top of the screen and book it for the food court, using any means necessary. Once inside, grab some grade F Wagyu and enter the Yucatan Casino to come face to face with our first foe.
Look what I found you, pretty girl. Fresh meat.
We've been boots on the ground here for 5 minutes, and we already have to fight a tiger. Inject Ted's brain with enough lead to qualify him for the senior discount at Denny's. Then huck the steaks we picked up earlier around the map to feed Snowflake. After she downs 3 fillets, we unlock our first Pokemon, heading to the back to find Lenny, which is significantly less cool. Usain Bolt back to the pharmacy to make sure our daughter doesn't explode, finding 3 identical men that spent the last 30 minutes coordinating their wardrobe. Teach this man right from left, turning around to find Snowflake turn the other 2 into red mist before I could do anything. Get fucked, Pikachu. Grab the Zombrex and Denise, returning to Katie with less than 90 seconds left on the clock. Our margins won't be improving for pretty much the entire game. The news reports that the outbreak was caused by some guy named Chuck Greene.
What?
Irrefutably proven by grainy security footage of a guy with a mask on. We have 3 days to clear our name and figure out what's going on, except 97% of that time is going to be spent hustling around this place. Acquire combo weapon technology, an incredibly diverse skill that allows you to create 50 different weapons using various materials around the city. In order to really appreciate this system, I'll be crafting the same 2 items over and over again for the entire game. Walk 10 feet outside the security room to add another set of survivors to our entourage, crafting my second and final combo weapon, then dragging the entire crew outside to grab another set. As we head back inside to rescue the oldest woman on the planet, you might be thinking to yourself, why didn't you drop off survivors when you gave Katie Zombrex? And that's an excellent question, and I appreciate your paying attention. Unfortunately for my sanity, one of the first achievements we can obtain forces us to drag a full O-line plus the second strings all around at the same time. There can be a maximum of 8 survivors spawned into Fortune City, and we have to escort every single one of them simultaneously. With our acquisition of Esther, we're up to 7, so I head for the next story mission and follow Rebecca to fill out the roster and earn the achievement. Bench the squad and wrap up the story beats for Case 1. Rebecca realizing something weird is going on, and Sullivan wanting to kick us out but won't as long as we rescue survivors. Don't worry, way ahead of you. Enter Americana Casino for the first time, giving Stuart an up-close and personal look at my rusty nail bat, then drag them both into Palisades Mall. This is the hardest location to regularly access, as there's no direct route without going through another casino, meaning any case that spawns here will need additional time budgeted in. Grab 2 snipers from the mall gun store, heading back to Royal Flush and giving the gang a behind-the-scenes look at the making of Logan. Drop them off and grab the Puke Master, depositing her and hoofing it to South Plaza to find the nerds playing D&D. I can't figure out how to get them to come with me, so I just start letting zombies kick the shit out of them until they snap out of it. In the 2 minutes it took for me to convince them to join, we've fallen slightly behind schedule and now have 3 additional cases on the map to deal with, 2 of which are psychopath fights, and one of those is directly in my path back to Royal Flush. Regardless, head from here to the arena, successfully using a fire extinguisher without crushing a man's penis this time.
I just crunched his nuts with it.
Then cross our fingers no one dies as I head into the next psychopath fight. I'm greeted by the dude that sucks ass at Slice Cycles, a man who, despite getting absolutely dumpstered by me earlier, retains his spot of being the worst. Luckily for us, he neglected to wear his Kevlar riding suit, confirming the fact that on the podium of sucking the most ass,
I'm number 1!
Bad news though, that cutscene takes place right outside the Yucatan Casino, a spot on the map that literally could not be farther away from all our survivors. Use our teaching from the Greybeards to summon everyone back to us,
Let's go!
hoping that no one gets grabbed by a zombie along the way. If at any point we enter a loading zone without a survivor, the game assumes they've fallen into the gas cloud from the Spider-Man PS1 game, and slowly kills them until you go back. Once our convoy is deposited safely, head back to the Americana bathroom to meet the Breaking Bad version of Shaggy, who low-key kicks my ass. While experiencing only 5% of his power, we get the call about the next case, the blinking red and white indicator telling us there's less than 5 real minutes before we fail and lose all our progress. Ruh-roh. Quickly dispatch Brandon and rescue Vicky, dropping Trow right next to her, and then dead sprinting for Royal Flush.
Hurry up! Come on! Keep it moving! Keep going!
Thanks, handsome.
Not even close. Stacy reveals something is happening in the maintenance tunnels, a fact we can only guess at because the CCTV cameras are running on the same technology that old people's eyes are. Shatter both our ankles, grabbing one of the free Zombrexes and giving it to Jared, dragging him to the shelter before heading backstage in Slot Ranch to get another dose for Katie later. Rescue Fortune City's worst paramedic, telling him to follow me as I triple my running speed just by pushing a utility cart. Head to Goliv Arden, facing off against Chef Manardi. The only way to break free from his grasp is to rapidly shake the mouse, making half of this fight look like any action movie shot in 2004. With his Rav successfully olied, drop our new best friends off at the shelter, where Sven gives us another Zombrex for our troubles. Interrupt the Backstreet Boys cover band to inform them that they probably don't want it that way, grabbing more guns before heading down to progress the story. TK once again says,
After that pathetic performance you gave last night,
making me wonder what a good performance could possibly look like before putting these guys in my Black Ops 2 montage. Evil Knievel here pulls up the same way I came from, meaning he ripped this thing all the way down the stairs. This guy pauses in the middle of battle to aura farm, and I realize TK's been hitting the gorilla grips because this handgun has absolutely zero recoil. Having bought ourselves a few more hours, collect another Zombrex and return to South Plaza to rescue another 2 survivors, then say hi to the lead singer of the Hex Girls, and whoever these guys are. For saving ABCD, we're rewarded with a combo card, of which there are 50 total to collect. Most are obtained through leveling up, but some are gained through looking at posters around the mall, rescuing survivors, and one from crafting a secret recipe. Another of the side achievements we're going for this run is giving Katie every possible gift. Luckily for us, we've already grabbed one. It's Snowflake the Tiger. Let's hope the next gift is a dumpster and 800 pounds of cat litter. With the very small amount of downtime we have, shoot these looters with gymnastic bullets. Then hop back into the whip and return to Yucatan, grabbing another Zombrex and the LMG. Buy ourselves another 2 hours, getting the cutscene that spawns queens on the map, then start shuttling anything we think a kid would like back to Katie. During our Santa spree, rescue the desperate housewives of Fortune City, and check in for the start of the next case, learning that Ocean's 11 is currently filming around the town. Armed with the knowledge that there's an active robbery in progress, ignore all that and keep giving Katie gifts, causing our caseload to become chock full once again. I get her remaining gifts down to just a water gun and a funny painting, then acquiesce to finally stop the heists, except if this were actually Ocean's 11, then anything I do would actually all be part of the plan. Grab a water gun in Yucatan, then get introduced to our next psychopath, Slappy. Slappy likes to shoot fireballs at you faster than you can get up, which absolutely shreds me until I realize his weakness is hucking a swordfish at him. The bad news is, his weapon isn't nearly as good as Adam the Clown's chainsaws were, making Fortune City's mascot character drop severely in the rankings. Since we're already in Palisades, rescue Lynette from the tanning salon, who was about 3 minutes away from being medium well. She's probably the single most important survivor in the game, as it allows us to take a shortcut from Royal Flush directly to Palisades Mall, removing the restriction I mentioned earlier. Stop the final robbery in progress, watching Rebecca get eviscerated by shrapnel before tackling her to the ground. She tells us to
meet you at 11 o'clock in the bar at the Yucatan,
which means that for now, we're a free man. Except we immediately walk right into the next fight, so it's back to the grind. And this one is something.
Oh, I knew I wouldn't die, Virgin! Oh, I can't wait! I can't wait! I can't wait!
If anyone knows of any reason why these 2 should not be joined in union, speak now or forever hold your... Oh, thank God!
I would say that I give this guy the business, but I think he'd like that too much. So rescue Danny, who takes the podium for the worst survivor escort so far.
Move it! Stay right there.
Janice Raza wouldn't follow you unless you have a gun, which is why we needed the LMG earlier, and drop him off to net us a cool 70 Gs, saving a golfer and calming down the only mutiny in the game, then turn 1 chainsaw into 2 and slap them onto Leon's motorcycle to get our very own Slice Cycle, a vehicle we'll become intimately familiar with later on. Stock up on some quick steps before heading into the Yucatan nightclub to meet up with Rebecca, reuniting with Cersei and Jaime Lannister. They make the mistake of bringing a katana to an LMG fight, an embarrassment so great the other one kills themselves. Since we're now on cleanup duty after joyriding a Slice Cycle too long, stop into Atlantica to find 3 poker players that require a buy-in of 100 grand. I'm short 3 racks, so run around shoving loose bills into my pockets before stumbling into the Fortune City mailman, who actually turns out to be the Dose Bomber. Send him to hell at a low flat rate, beginning our next quest, rescuing any remaining survivors while assembling the Gambling Infinity Gauntlet. These girls forced me to pony up 10k to get them to safety, a transgression that won't be forgotten. With them dropped off and another Zombrex in my pocket, snag the final gambling book from upstairs and give Katie her daily shot, hearing Stacy name-dropping the goats.
There's talk of finding a cure someday. Isabella Keyes was looking for it. She worked with Frank West to make the first inhibitor, using queens.
Rescue Woodrow, who makes up for our loss of funds with another 50,000, putting us over the buy-in for the poker game, so head over to school these fools. In another twist of fate, waiting right outside are 4 snipers that aren't at all relevant to the modern day.
Damn, this ain't nearly as fun as Border Patrol.
These 4 make traveling outside borderline impossible until they're defeated, so completely ignore them and run for Atlantica. They say the best defense is a good offense, so all in every hand and cross our fingers, wrapping up $1 million for our trouble. It's around this time that I start to really fall behind. The snipers outside, plus the poker game taking longer than I hoped, means I'm vastly behind schedule, and I'm gonna have to move pretty much non-stop to catch up. Slide Randolph some of our crispy new Benjis to obtain the funny painting, the last gift Katie needs before we have the achievement. We also re-up Jared's Zombrex and hand the painting over, then get to work churning through the backlog. Introduce these patriots to the most American thing I can think of: knives duct taped to boxing gloves, one of them being way harder to kill than the others. Now that outside is clear, enter the hotel again to find Europa in her skivvies, who refuses to be escorted unless we're also in our undies. The underwear section is located all the way at the back of the South Plaza, which means we have to fight our way through Clint Eastwood, Hallmark Edition. Grab Ray and take our clothes off, wondering why we couldn't just strip back at the front, but whatever. Acquire a golf club for Luz, and recruit Bill from outside, returning through Slot Ranch to find the chillest hostage of all time.
We're wide. If we move, they'll go off.
I need you to run a few errands for me, kiddo. I get explosive when I have to wait.
I'd get her what she needs, bro.
BB wants a drink, me in a suit, and a lot of zombies around for this epic performance. Also, I left Bill behind, so this entire time he's dying in the Spider-Man fog. She stage dives and snaps out of her delirium, allowing us to recruit her and all her hostages at the same time. Give Luz the club when we return, and make it to the rooftop with seconds to spare. TK's escaping on a helicopter, so do what we do best, and ignore that, and go get a guy who refuses to be offered walking assistance. Lightly tenderize him before loading him up in a wheelchair and driving him all the way back to the emergency shelter. Get Andy from Palisades and Tammy from Atlantica, then head up to the hotel rooftop to chuck some garbage at TK's helicopter. Chuck says,
"She's gonna need one last dose of Zombrex before the military gets here."
So I guess that's not 3 Zombrexes in his pocket, he's just happy to see me. Grab Walter and Royce, one of which requires money to be escorted again, another piece of intel I won't forget, and banish them to the shelter realm before telling Ten and Peller, "Abra, you're dead, brah." Make sure to do a little stabby-stabby with the magician sword, then rescue the last 2 survivors on the map prior to the military arriving. That gives us time to crush a poker game, where this lady must have glued her headpiece to her dome, as she'd rather get naked than take it off. With that, we pretty much have the rest of the day to do whatever we want. We could take up pottery, learn a new language, or even practice our cooking skills. In reality, we need $6 million for an achievement later, and rolling on the mega slots is the best money per hour that I remember from back when. I come out of my gambling stupor long enough to keep my daughter alive and rescue a plant for Vicky, at which point the military arrives and gets absolutely curb-stomped by the next evolution in zombie technology. Stink zombies. Sergeant Boykin is no Brock, but before we go confront him, slice cycle the new gas zombies, grabbing any guns we haven't fired yet, and eating any remaining foods we haven't tried, knocking off a couple more miscellaneous achievements. Once that's done, take down Boykin and escort Rebecca back to the shelter, stopping by to pick up these 2 soldiers on the way, but this dude gets fucking shredded instantly by the zombies, forcing me to redo all that again. This time drop off Rebecca first, learning that the emergency shelter is compromised and we have to repair it. Luckily, we have 59 survivors already to beat ass, so get it locked down before finding TK getting bitten by a zombie. With the shelter overrun, the military's ready to bomb the city, so Chuck decides to go underground to find out what's really going on. Before we go, give TK some Zombrex, except...
You raised her right, Chucky. It's a real shame she has to die.
I find it interesting that the guy who's killed like 17 psychopaths at this point is willing to let this slide, but we have soldiers to rescue. Finish off any remaining slice cycle kills, gas zombie kills, and use the final gun we need to wrap up those achievements. Then reach the secret lab section with 2 more guys technically classified as psychopaths, except they're just nerdy dudes with pistols. Execute them mercilessly, despite the fact that it feels like they would testify better than TK would, but I don't make the rules. reveal that the company that makes Zombrex is behind everything, and Rebecca says, it turns out no one can ever hold a candle to the goddess, as Sullivan's been the bad guy this entire time. With 8 hours left until the bombs hit, there's only one thing left to do. Spin those wheels! Once we're physically unable to delay it any longer, head up to the final boss fight.
So you're behind this. You killed all these people for money.
The money's secondary. We're trying to save lives here, Chuck. We can't make the drug without queens, Chuck. A lot of queens. You can thank Isabella for that. Fortune City was a small price to pay to ensure our country's way of life.
You murdered these people!
Acceptable losses. This wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last.
Pathetic. Get everyone on the helicopters and out of the city, and the first playthrough of Dead Rising 2 is officially not over. It's overtime mode, baby. TK's got Stacy and Katie, and forces us to grab random shit around the map to bring to him, just like OT in the first game. Luckily for us, everything can be grabbed in about 10 minutes, giving us just enough time to spin those wheels, baby! We get our total cash reserves up to 5.5 million before time requires I go actually end the game, where we give TK the thing he wants most: more time under the spotlight. TK's motivations were just to be a massive asshole, I guess, and we successfully rescue the gang and wrap up the first playthrough. Now, I have an admission to make. You'll see here that we rescued 61 survivors. There's a total of 65 available to be rescued. That's because there's one escort mission that's only available for 30 real minutes at the same time as like 12 other survivors are on the map, making reaching that mission incredibly difficult. By the time I had realized the deadline had passed, it was too late to course correct, and I had to settle for only rescuing 61 of the 65 possible. In better news, the achievement only requires 50 survivors to be rescued, so I do earn some bonus points, but I will wear the shame of my failure until the end of my days. At this point, all that's left to do is clean up the remaining achievements we didn't have time for in the first run. I could walk you through step by step of how I achieved each of those random achievements, or I could do what I do best and show you via montage. With all those done, the only task left to do is kill 72,000 zombies. If you recall, our total for the first run was 7,818. I basically have to 10x the amount of kills I got in the entire first run, and I won't be doing the story, so we don't have the extra day that overtime mode gives us. How can we possibly kill 72,000 zombies in 6 real hours? By driving, of course. I do multiple test runs with both the SUV and the slice cycle, and I find that although the slice cycle's average durability was lower than the SUV's, the kills per minute was so much higher that it rendered the choice totally irrelevant. So I set out to drive a lap up and down the entire strip on a slice cycle over and over again for 6 straight hours. For crossing 53,594, the population of Willamette, Colorado, we unlock one achievement, and for crossing 72K, we earn the final single-player achievement of Dead Rising 2. Thank you all for watching. Dead Rising 2 was a lot more fun than I remembered it being, although I will always hold a special place in my heart for Dead Rising 1. If you didn't catch it, I livestreamed my full completion of the hardcore run on my channel, so if you want to see me do a full challenge live and unedited, feel free to head over there. Also, just to get ahead of some of the comments, yes, I am aware that I didn't include the multiplayer achievements, but TIR on Steam is absolutely botched, and it just made more sense to only include the single-player achievements. Multiplayer achievements continue to be the bane of my existence, and I hope that trend is bucked in all single-player games going forwards. Huge shout out to my patrons, me Jessica, Batvic, Turd Ferguson, Since I Use Ad Blockers, Prime, Dixby, Jude, Alex, Matt, Spiralt, Muriel, Envy, Raven, Baneful Biscuit, Amignon, Horizon, Emo Trashcan, Vamris, Verso, Romlet, Vons, Max, Vince, and all my other patrons. You guys make these videos possible. Thank you. Stay tuned for the next few videos, as I'm feeling the call. A call for justice. I'll see you in the next one.